Welcome to Season 5, Episode 5 of the Crochet Luna Vlogcast. My name is Claudia, and I'm coming to you from the San Diego area in Southern California. Welcome to February. Oh my gosh, where did January go? I hope you all had a good January, that you had a good start to 2022. And if you didn't, I hope that it gets better for you. I know I will. I know it will get better for you. As I said, it's mid-February and lots to talk about. I'm really happy to be here. If you are a new subscriber, or a new viewer, I am a crochet-centric vlogcast, and I talk about my crochet. I do sometimes talk about knitting and sewing and things like that. But for the most part, I like to share about my crochet makes and my crochet journey. So let's get started. I have, like I said, lots to talk about. Originally, this episode was going to be called Frogging Party, mainly because in January, I really assess all the works in progress that I have accumulated through the year, because I usually tend to frog anything that I know that I am not going to work on or really have just lost interest. I will go ahead and frog it. And so January is always typically the month that I start the year off by reassessing projects and seeing what I want to keep working on and what definitely will be going back into the yarn stash. And so because I've been doing this maybe like for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been something that's become a habit. I really didn't have many projects to frog. In fact, I only had one project that I frogged, and that was living in this really beautiful bag that was gifted to me by Allie of Little Drops of Wonderful. If you don't know Allie's podcast, she's a wonderful podcaster out of the UK. She and I run the Dodgy Bag Mail every year. Hopefully we will be doing that this year. I just have to send Allie an email to confirm that we'll be doing it again this year. And basically what that mail is just gives you an opportunity to sew a project bag. And Allie has actually done 2 tutorials that are on her channel that will show you how to make just a simple drawstring bag like this one. And we have a lot of fun. Like, people make the most beautiful bags every year. We're always so impressed with what people do. And if you haven't had a chance to make your own dodgy bag and you want to make a dodgy bag, this is definitely the year to do it. Like I said, I only had one project that I frogged this year. If you're thinking about frogging projects, crochet projects, knitting projects, whatever project that you're thinking you're not going to work on, or you want to reassess your stash, I recommend you stop the video, go get your projects and things, and then I'll keep you company and I will cheer you on. And you know what? It's okay to frog things. Some things just don't work out, and it's okay to not have to suffer with the guilt of like, how I'm going to make it, or, I should make it. Just frog it, put it back in your stash, and let that yarn become something else. So I'll wait for you to come back, but go grab those projects you want to frog, and I will keep you company. Anyway, as I was saying, I frogged this project. I don't even know that I ever showed this on the Vlogcast, but it is a beautiful pattern by Sandra Gutierrez, who is Nomad Stitches, and it's a zigzag zimmer top. It's this really cute top that I was planning on making, and I'm actually still planning on making this. I just don't know when. And so I had done some work to get started, but not anything too significant. And because I fluctuate with my gauge depending on how my hands are doing, I really don't like to let projects sit in bags, because I know that I'll probably not be at the same gauge that I started. And so I don't even want to deal with it. I just rather undo the project. I was working it in a yarn very much similar to the shade of the top in the pattern. I think this is like a light pink. And I have this really pretty light pink yarn. I have a garment quantity of it. And I thought, I will just undo it, keep it in the bag because I will go back to it. But there was no reason to keep a half, not even half, 4 inches of a project and the hook and everything else that was in this bag there were things that I could use to work on something else. Like I said, there was like a hook and some stitch markers and things like that. So I frogged the project, but it's in this bag only because the yarn and the pattern are in here ready to be worked again. It also has one of my pin back buttons that I made a while ago. I don't even think this is in the shop anymore. And then this really cute Frida Kahlo button that Allie sent me along with the bag. So anyway, and the frogging part of this video ties in very well to the actual title of the video, which is Swedish Tendencies. And I don't know how I came across this idea, but I know it was a YouTube video that came up on my list. And I'll just get into it. I mean, why beat around the bush? Let's just get into it, right? I came across this video and I was very intrigued by the title of it, which was Swedish Death Cleaning. And so if you have been following me for some time, you know that I have been in this sort of mess of trying to clean up my craft space and getting rid of things. I've talked a little bit about it here and there about how I've redone my crafting space. And actually I've redone it a couple of times and I wanted to do a tour, but it's not where I want it to go. It's not where I envision the space to be, right? So I've put off doing the tour because I just don't feel like I'm in that space in the way that I see it in my mind. And I've struggled with it. I'll be honest with you. I've struggled with clutter and organization, all my life, basically, right? So I've always tended to collect things like many of us do. And it's always been one of those things where I'm the kind of person that I can't work at my desk unless my desk has been cleared off. So if I start any sort of when I was working full time and I was having to do these different tasks, I needed to clear my desk to start a new task, right? In the same way that, I would have to tidy up my fabric and things like that, in order to start sewing something. Or, if I was going to crochet something and then I'd tidy up my little crochet corner. So I've always had this issue with clutter and how it affects me. And it's taken me many years to realize that I am very much triggered by clutter. I tend to get very anxious around clutter and I tend to not do well when, I'm surrounded by clutter. And what's unfortunate is that a lot of times I'm the one creating the clutter and then I'm overwhelmed and then I don't want to deal with it until I deal with it. Right. So for many months now, I've been in this sort of mode of trying to deal with the clutter that I've collected or that's around my house and things like that to some extent, with some success. But it wasn't until I came across this video about Swedish death cleaning that I really, a light bulb went on. And if things like decluttering and organization are not your thing, this might not be the episode for you because I will be talking about decluttering and getting rid of things. And so you might be like, this is not what I was here for. But in this year, I really want to welcome you into sort of like a little bit more of my world and what I deal with, in my life as a crafter, because it's not just about showing you some yarn that I purchased or a finished object for me. It's more about, I would like to be able to have you see some of the back part of the, what is it called? The behind the scenes of some of that. I started doing videos about 5 years ago. So my 5th year podiversary is in March. And so when I started doing videos, the point where I started doing videos and the drive to do those videos has changed a little bit, because I've changed as a crafter. I've learned things. And so I think a lot of times, I've been saying, if you want to start a podcast, about crochet, do it. I encourage you to do it. But some of the pitfalls about that is that, when you first start podcasting, you might have a lot of, pieces of finished crochet that no one's seen. So you have a lot to show. But then you get into this sort of situation as a podcaster that you feel this need or this. Let me just say, I'm speaking for myself. I have felt this need that, I'm not going to podcast because I don't have anything to show, or I haven't really worked on anything, or I haven't started a new pattern, or so it becomes more about what do I have to show you and share with you, more than what am I interested in right now and working on, even though it's taking me 6 months to do something. I don't want to keep showing you the same object for the next 6 months, but sort of like crocheting to podcast is what I'm calling it, right? I don't really want to do that. Not that the things that I've shown you are not things that I've liked, but I can tell you through the decluttering process is that I have rehomed many of the things that I've crocheted, because they either, I've never worn them, or they didn't fit me because they were too big, or maybe it wasn't the best yarn choice, things like that, right? So while I was working on them, I enjoy it because I'm process oriented. But then I was left with a pile of crochet objects, finished objects that I never went back to and really engaged with, right? So I started thinking, am I crocheting this because I want this finished object as a functioning piece, or am I just doing this so that I can show something on the podcast so I can podcast? Now, those are just things that are, those may just be things that are a part of me as a crafter and the way I podcast, and have nothing to do with the way you podcast or could podcast. But I definitely would like to have more conversations about things like that with you, just because I think they're important. And I think sometimes we have this expectation of the people that we watch on our podcasting subscription list, right? We have this expectation that we're going to see new. But that might not be the best. That might not be the best thing, especially when I want to share the journey of a project with you, more than just say, okay, I started this podcast, the next podcast, here it is finished, right? I really want to be able to talk about my projects, and that journey that comes along with the project. And so why am I talking about that in terms of Swedish death cleaning? Partly because I've realized that, I'm at a point in crafting where I have all the yarn, all the tools, all the bags, all the stitch markers. In essence, they are not fueling my creativity. And so I think that there's come a point in my crafting journey where I have to make changes. Because I always want to crochet. I always want to be able to be creative with yarn and things like that. But I've sort of hit like a wall. And so when you hit a wall with creativity, you got to kind of reassess to see, well, why have I hit the wall? And what can I do to break down that wall so that I can keep going to the next stage, right? So I bought the book. I saw a video on it on Swedish Death Cleaning, which you can find. I won't link a video about Swedish death cleaning because you can find those on YouTube. I will show you the cover of the book that I guess kicked things off, which is called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning by Margareta Magdalen. So this is the cover of the book. And I listened to it on Audible. It's only like 2 hours. It's a quick listen. The narrator has a lovely voice. It's very nice. And the premise is that basically, when you get to a certain age, what you don't want to do is leave your loved ones with the burden of having to deal with your possessions if you pass away or when you pass away, right? So ideally you would want to deal with those things so that, once that time comes, they're not having to figure out what to do with your old photographs or, your, I don't know, teacup collection. I listened to the book twice. It was great. It was absolutely great. And so from there, I went and did some research on internet about it. And I was on YouTube and I came across a couple of people who are into minimalism as a way of living. And again, you might hear the word minimalism and you'd be like, that is not for me. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And as I understand it, really minimalism as a lifestyle, there's really no definition to it. Minimalism as a movement in architecture or other things like that, you can find clear definitions of it. So when you hear minimalism, the definition is quite open. And one of the first people whose videos I started watching is Dawn from the Minimal Mom, who is a YouTube channel, and absorbed much of her content. And two of the key concepts that Dawn talks about, which completely resonated with me, were the idea of seeing the things in your home as inventory. Now, coming from a business, as a bookkeeper, as an operations manager, as someone who has helped people with small businesses, I can tell you the word inventory just makes my skin crawl. Nobody wants to deal with inventory. Nobody. And so when she kept saying this word that if you look at the things in your house as inventory, and what you want to manage, it became very simple for me to say, you know what? I don't want to manage all this inventory in my house. I really, really don't. I really want to make things a lot more manageable, because I don't want to spend my time managing, 1,000 plates and cups and things like that. So I started very small. I started with my linen closet. And I can tell you that experience alone completely sold me on starting the journey of decluttering my house to the point where my goal is to get rid of 80% of the inventory in my house. I know, it's pretty radical. But I've been doing it little by little, and I can't even tell you how much calmness it has brought into my life, and how much I can see the benefit getting rid of all this stuff has been. I just feel like it's been about 4 weeks, a month since I decluttered part of our home, and I have not missed not one single thing that I have donated, given away, or thrown out. Nothing. Not one thing. So I started talking about this to some friends, and they were just like, no, I could never do that. Especially when it comes to crafting, right? The thought of decluttering a craft room or a stash of yarn or whatever it is that we have seems like almost like a sacrilege, right? Because you've spent the money on all this stuff. But I did come across another minimalist. His name is Joshua Becker. He is also on YouTube. I will link this video. I will link Dawn's channel, The Minimal Mom, and I will link this particular short video of Joshua Becker talking about how to declutter crafting supplies, because he starts off with a quote that I thought was just clicked for me, right? It just absolutely clicked, and that is, and I'll read it. The enemy of art is the absence of limitations. And that was said by Orson Welles. So think about that. The enemy of art is the absence of limitations. So often I have come to my stash, which is, I have a lot of yarn, and I have not been able to engage with the stash or produce anything out of my stash. Now, I've had many situations where that's happened, right? I've gone to yarn shops and walked around yarn shops and with all of the available options of, that you can find in a yarn shop, and walked out not having bought yarn and not having been able to start a project because it just, didn't work out, right? So I thought about, when I heard that quote, I thought about a friend of mine in art school who was a prolific painter. Very well, became a well-known painter in Los Angeles. Very talented, who owned a total of 2 brushes, just 2 paint brushes. And he went through art school and he did these massive paintings with 2 brushes. And I just thought, it's sort of like, yeah, maybe he could have bought more brushes, or maybe actually I know that he had a very limited budget, like many art students. But I know that he could have maybe bought more brushes or whatever, but I think that limitation that he imposed on himself, whether it was self-imposed or budget, or whatever the reason was, that he decided, I'm only going to paint with these 2 brushes, generated a beautiful style of painting. And then I thought about an experience I had in art school where I was taking a life drawing class, and you needed to have this ginormous piece of paper that you had to buy in the art store, and it was very expensive, and you needed 3 for a class because you were going to have a model that was going to pose in the morning, in the afternoon, and in a early evening pose. And so you needed 3 pieces of paper to have 3 drawings. And I said to the teacher, I couldn't afford it. I have 1 piece of paper and that's it. And he said, we'll make it work. You're just going to have to deal with it. And so that piece actually is one of the few pieces that, I'm so proud of that piece, and I love that piece so much, and it hangs in my parents' home. It's a giant drawing that was framed beautifully. And yeah, it made me work. It was supposed to just be 3 sketches, it was a practice life drawing, do this, but it actually became a really beautiful piece at the end of the day, it became a standalone piece of art, not just a drawing, like so many drawings that I actually threw away in art school because they were just practice drawings. So I am currently in this process of decluttering, and I am in the process of decluttering my entire house, including my my crafting supplies. Yes. So some people are going to get some really nice yarn soon. And I'll probably do some giveaways with the yarn on the podcast, because I really want the yarn to go to someone who's going to use it, enjoy it, make something with it, because what's the point in me having all this yarn that frankly I'm probably never going to use? I just, at this point in my life, I just don't see that being something positive for me. And that brings me to another concept that Dawn talks about that really resonated with me, and that is, you gotta have to see what season in life you're in, that the things that were part of a season in your life, let's say when you have young children and you have to carry, the stroller and the car seat and the diaper bag, right? I'm no longer in that season. And so if I had anything like that, obviously I wouldn't keep it in my house, but every person is in a different season in their life. And so right now, as I know that I'll be turning 50 in June, I am entering into a different season. I am seeing that the things that were important to me even 2-3 years ago are not so important now, and that the things that I'm looking forward to are definitely different things that I didn't even think about, right? More travel with my children, more time at home. It's one of the reasons why I actually left the job that I had, was because I felt like I needed to be home more. I needed to be home, not just physically home, because I've always worked from home, but just be more mentally present for my children and my family. So that's sort of like what I wanted to talk to you guys about. There is a book that I purchased that I'm starting to go through, also offered by, and I'll put a link, but I don't think you need to go buy this book. I'm just saying, I just want to share that I've purchased this book in case, as for me, it has been a struggle to get things under control. And if you don't struggle with organization and clutter, and you don't struggle with a lot of these issues, then more power to you. But I do struggle with these things, and I can't be the only one that struggles with clutter and letting go of things and organizing. So I purchased this book that I just started reading, and I'll give you more insight on it as I read it. But it's called the Declutter Your Home in 15 Minutes a Day. This is Dawn. She's the Minimal Mom on YouTube. And it's sort of like a workbook, which is great, because she takes you like room by room. Let me see if I can find a picture that would show. It kind of takes you room by room and helps you kind of declutter based on, what room you want to tackle. There's really no pictures I can show you. Honestly, just if you're interested, if you have any questions, drop a comment down below. But like I said, you don't need to purchase this book. I just needed a little bit more backup in my journey of decluttering. And so I thought, why not have something like that to reference? Okay, I'm back, and I had to turn the lights on because it was getting way too dark. It's an overcast day here in San Diego. It rained today. Weather is crazy, you guys. It's crazy. So let's get into the yarny content. And let me just say that I had this amazing chat with Faye of the Crochet Circle podcast last month, and we were talking about so many different things. But one of the things that we were talking about was possibly, well, should I say it? Should I say it? We are working on something really special for the fall, and I'm really excited to be working on this project with Faye. She's just an amazing, amazing person, and I'll obviously drop her link to her podcast. The last podcast that she did, she was talking about some Luna yarn, which is some Z-twist yarn that I have milled here in San Diego from a very small mill. And she really helped me get my head straight about the future production of the yarn. More details to come on that. But we also talked about doing something really special for the fall that I guess I can't drop too many details because we're still working on the details, but looked to our videos to give you some clues as to what we have cooking, and I think that you guys all will enjoy it. So in terms of cows, like I was saying, I will talk to Allie of Little Drops of Wonderful just to confirm that we will be doing Dodgy Bag Mail. And in the summer with Clarisabeth, I want to do Summer of Romance. We don't have a theme yet. I always like summer romance. It's a fun summer crochet along. So those are the only things that I have relating to cows. And let's see. I want to start off with my finished object, which I shared on Instagram, and I'm really excited to share with you guys, which is my pair of crocheted socks. I finished both of them last week. Was it last week? Oh God, I don't even know when. But I really, once I decided I refuse to crochet a pair of socks that doesn't fit me the way I want them to fit. I don't care if I frog it 1,000 times. I'm going to make a pair of socks that actually fits my foot, feels good, and that I really understand the construction of what fits my, I have very flat feet, my flat, Fred Flintstone feet, let's just call them that. But I, originally finished the first sock. I finished the first sock and I put it on and it fit. I won't lie, it fit, but it didn't fit comfortably. And the toe on the first sock, if you can see, is very pointy and it just didn't feel comfortable. So I made the mistake, which I never do this, so I don't know what possessed me to do it. That I weaved in the ends, right? I weaved in the ends without trying it on, and then I tried it on and I hated it. So then I was not about to try and go back and find those ends. So what I did is I just cut off that toe. I just cut off that uncomfortable toe. And then because I did that, and I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to cut the toe and I'm going to take it back to the heel. Okay, two things. My mother called while I was recording, so I had to shut it off. So I don't even remember what I was talking about. And the other thing is, I realized I wasn't wearing my wedding ring. That's how rumors start, people. That's how rumors start. But I went to get a mani earlier today, and so I always take my rings off. And if you notice, I wear different rings on my wedding, for a wedding ring. And that's because some days my fingers swell more than others. And so I have different size rings that I wear, but this is actually my wedding ring. the actual wedding ring, which is amazing because hasn't fit my finger in a long time, and I've started wearing it. And then I was freaking out right now because I realized I didn't have it on, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I took it off. Took it off to get. Well, that's neither here nor there. So I might just edit this whole blabbering off the video. You don't need to know any of that. Needless to say, I don't remember what I was talking about, except for the fact that I was showing you that I cut off the toe off the sock. And then I reworked the leg because I realized the leg was too long. I realized I didn't need as much in the leg as the pattern called for. So I adjusted the leg to what I needed it to be. And then I started with a 4.5 millimeter hook. Let me see. This is a free pattern, by the way. Let me show you. This is the Magdalen sock by Vicki Brown. This is a free pattern that you can get. You can get it on Ravelry, and I believe you can get it on her website. I'll put the links below. So I've had this pattern forever. I bought this yarn when I was at Yarndale in 2018, and I've been wanting to make these socks forever. But I run into gauge issues on my part. So the pattern calls for you to make the sock in a 4.5 millimeter hook. And I made the ribbing, and I made the leg part of it with the 4.5. But when I made that first pair of my first sock, where I had this toe, the heel just was slightly too big, and so I didn't like the way it looked, and I thought, well, since I'm cutting off this part and I'm reworking this sock, I might as well get that heel right. And that goes back to what I was saying, that I really want to work on projects that fit me right, and I want to understand how to get that fit. And so what I did is I went down to a 3.25 millimeter hook. So let me revise something. This is a 3.5 millimeter hook that I use for the ribbing and the leg. And this is a 3.25 that I use for the heel and the foot of the sock. So knowing that this toe here, this original toe, had been uncomfortable and a little bit too pointy, and it seemed like it was a little bit too small, I switched back to the 3.5 millimeter hook, and I worked the toe in the bigger hook size. And I just because I had extra yarn, I've had little bits of this extra yarn and I wanted to use it, I went ahead and used this really pretty blue, which is part of a kit that I bought from Molly Klein Designs. It came with this color yarn, and it came with this mini. And so I had leftovers. I had plenty of leftovers from making my gloves that I did. And I went ahead and used that Molly Klein yarn for the heel and that little bit of blue, which, I mean, I still have left. Look, I still have the blue left. So this is what I got from Molly Klein, these two colors. And I just decided to pop them into this sock, just because I wanted to see how doing stripes would work, and it worked really nice. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, so these socks fit so well. I am so happy, and you can look at the difference in the toe. The toe that I ended up with, as opposed to the toe that I originally did, are way different. That's because I actually cut off the pattern 2 rows from where it tells you to stop doing the toe. So I didn't want to end up with this really pointy toe. This is a toe, this more rounded flat toe is the one that has fit the best. And I've taken notes on the pattern. I was telling Faye that I downloaded the knit companion app on my phone. It's worked beautifully to keep these kind of notes. And so I think it was $9.99 for the year, so it was not that expensive. And what's really nice about it is that you can link, it allows you to directly link your Ravelry pattern from that app, and then you can make notes on the app. I use it on my phone actually. If you don't use Ravelry, I think you could also import a PDF, but I haven't had to do that, so I'm not very familiar with that. I carry patterns, paper patterns. I mean, if I showed you my paper pattern, you would see that it's got 1,001 notes on it. I don't even know what I did with it. Okay, here it is. So here's my pattern with notes and highlights and all kinds of stuff. And all those notes have been transferred to my Knit Companion copy of that pattern. So they're there. I know that I started off with this, and then I switched to this, and I switched back to that. Luckily, all the sock yarn that I use is all the same type of sock yarn, so I didn't have any problems. Look at, I ended up with just a little bit of purple, this little bit of blue. And so, like I said, I am really, really happy with this pattern and the way that these fit. I'm going to make another set of these, only because they fit so well. And now I know the formula for how to work this pattern to fit my feet. So what I need to do, I already have the notes. And I will tell you the other thing that I used that I really liked was, I have a sock ruler that I bought from Neutrino. If you don't know this company, this is two sisters started this company, Neutrino, and basically you can get patterns on their app, and every pattern has a tutorial that you can click on for a specific technique. It works a little bit like Knit Companion in that it keeps track of where you're at in the pattern, but it has a very limited library of patterns, and they're all knitted patterns. So, is that right? I think Quaylen has a pattern on that site. It might be Crochet. I'm not sure, but this ruler, what this does, well, what this did for me is that it allowed me to measure where the different sections in the sock were, where I had to stop. And I really like that, because now I have those numbers too, and that the notes on how much of the foot I need to work before I start the toe, and the leg as well. And so I bought this ruler, I bought this ruler when I bought their kit, that we collaborated with them on a pair of socks for Lady Di Yarn. She did a pair of socks that were based on the movie Ready Knitter 1. And it was a really, really fun kit to put together. And one of the options that they offered was to purchase this ruler. Do you need this ruler to make socks? No, obviously you don't, but I liked it. I had it. So, and I never used it for anything, so it came in handy. And so what I did is I kept all the stuff in, not a sock size bag, but actually this bigger Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. And I don't know if I've ever shown this bag before, but this is one of Amy Beth's bags. She is the Fat Squirrel Fibers. Is it Fat Squirrel Fibers? Yeah, I'll put a link to her shop. And it's got my vaccinated, immunocompromised crocheter button. I have one for knitters, one for crafters, and one for crocheters. Love this bag. I really like the fabrics that she picks. And so I have like 2 or 3 of her bags, and I've never been disappointed with her bags. So that is my finished object for crochet. Next, I want to show you my sewing finished object, which is a bag. I was feeling in the Valentine's Day spirit. I was seeing all these bag makers put up their shop updates for their Valentine's Day bags, and I really wanted one. I really wanted to buy a bag, but I'm really trying not to spend any money on stuff anymore because I have so much fabric and I have so many things. I had just, like late in last year, I serviced my sewing machine. And so I wanted to take it out for a test run because it's just been sitting here. I found a pattern for a bag. I was looking for a small bag. I was looking for a bag that I could, had handles and I could take my sock pattern in. That was just simple to make so I could try out the sewing machine. And I found this pattern by Erica of Confessions of a Homeschooler here on YouTube. She has so many good tutorials. So this is the pattern that I purchased. You actually don't even need to purchase the pattern because she gives you a listing of the materials on the video, and she does really great tutorials. But I did purchase the pattern because, here you have like different sizes, like the small and the large. And I always just like to support videos like that because I feel like, they're giving such great content, great information. I don't mind paying someone for their hard work. So this is the bag, the pattern that I purchased. I followed it, made no changes, exactly like the dimensions. I did use a different type of handle here. And I found this button that I purchased at the San Diego Yarn Crawl last September, which I was so happy to use. It's a great pattern, really easy to follow. And I just lined it with just white fabric that has a little bit of a pattern on it. And anyway, so I made this little bag and I'm really happy with it. And I ended up finding fabric and cutting up enough to make, I think, 5 bags that I'm going to pop in the Etsy shop sometime this week, hopefully. But if you follow me on Instagram, I'll definitely put a post up letting people know that the bags are in the shop if you're interested. This is really cute fabric. I only have fabric to make one more of these, but then I have other fabric that I found that I thought was super cute. And like I said, to me, this is a great little size. So I consider this my second FO. And I wanted to talk to you about my whips. And these are whips you've already seen. Again, like I said, I really want to share the journey of these whips with you in case you decide to make a pattern, or this pattern or these patterns that I talk about. You will get some inside information from me. The first whip that I want to share with you is my Any Yarn Will Do cardigan. This is a pattern by Dora Does. You can purchase this pattern and make all of the different projects and different yarn weights, which I think is great. Again, she has written a very comprehensive pattern. What's funny is that I started this pattern sometime in October, and I know because I put in a Halloween stitch marker. And then I did some more work on it from the last time that I showed you sometime in December because I put in a little Christmas tree stitch marker. You can see it there. So I'm going to leave those. Oh, come on. I'm going to leave these seasonal stitch markers just to see how long it's going to take me to make this. But it's been so nice to have a project that I don't have to think about. I've done the increasing. I've already split for sleeves. So I'm just plugging along, going round and round on this. I don't know if you can see that. I love it. I love it. I take this thing with me, and I know that I can put a couple rows without even thinking about it, because I'm just going, not round and round, I'm just going back and forth. Yeah, so this is my whip that I'm working on. And then I have one other whip that you haven't seen in a while, because I had misplaced everything that has to do with this whip. I still haven't found the pattern. It's all in one bag now. All the yarn is here, and I can show it to you. And that is a sweater that I started last year. I don't even remember the name of the pattern. It's horrible that I don't remember the name of the pattern. I will put it down here so that you can see it. But I finished the first panel of this sweater. Isn't that pretty? Is it called the Eclectic jumper? Somehow that's in my head. So anyway, I have finished the first part of the pattern. It's going to be like a cropped sweater. I think it's really cute. But I had finished this first panel, you guys, and then I completely misplaced it. I had the yarn, some yarn in one place. I had started the ribbing of the second panel, and I had misplaced that. I found it, and that is living. See, and then crochet hook that's in the little bag where I had started the ribbing. This bag here, you guys, I bought at Yarndale 2018. I believe this was Mothie and the Squid. I don't know. I could totally be making that up. But look at this cute bag. It's got sea creatures. It's just a cute little bag. Look at the sea turtle there. I love this bag. When I saw it, I just loved it. Anyway, I started the ribbing on the second panel, did not finish it. So now that I have found all the yarn, I gotta reprint the pattern because I have no idea what I did with that first copy, which is unfortunate because there were notes on it. So now I'm gonna have to wing it and just get it to match this panel. I've got all the yarn in here for it. I am using a Valley Yarn 60% superwash merino, 40% acrylic microfiber yarn, and very economical. It's one of the reasons I picked this yarn is because it was very economical. I only wanted the small ball since you've got different, you essentially have a different color for every row in this sweater. It's got a different color, and I just didn't want to end up with a 100-gram skeins of yarn for this project, but it's all living in this bag. Again, this is a bag by Amy Beth of Fat Squirrel Fibers. It's a Christmas bag. I really, really like this bag. I think I purchased it in 2020. I don't even know if I've ever shown this bag, but it's really pretty. I kind of like it because even though it's Christmas, it doesn't look super Christmassy unless you look close to it. But anyway, I've got those two. I just dropped my crochet hook. It literally flew across the room here. I've got these two as current whips, and that's it. That is it. I'm gonna start a new one though. Hey, I finished socks. I'm going to start a new one. But I really feel confident, and this is what I'm really loving about having a manageable whip pile. What I am loving is the fact that I am very confident that I'm going to finish these two garments. I just feel good about the fact that I don't have a lot dividing my focus, because that's one of the things, like I've noticed, like when I had too many whips, nothing got done. Like I wasn't finishing anything. I just was putting a little bit of time here and there, but I wasn't really finishing anything. So I'd rather have 2 whips, soon to be 3, maybe 4. But I want a whip list that I can manage. That feels manageable to me. If you have a ton of whips, I don't want you to feel guilty. I don't want you to feel any sort of way. We are all crafters that craft in different ways, and they're all valid ways. And so I don't want to minimize, or I don't want you to think that because I have chosen to craft a certain way, it invalidates the way you craft. I don't want you to feel that way. As I said, I just think I'm in this season where less is going to be better for me. And so having less whips is going to be better for me. And so, yeah, those are my 2 whips. And I do have some things that I want to share with you for upcoming projects, because I just purchased another pattern and I printed it out. Yes, I did. Okay. So let's move on to the project queue. These are projects that I am hoping to start and that I hope to have some significant progress in next time I see you, because I'm really, really looking forward to putting time into them. So the first one is from Clarisabeth Lopez, who is Crochet Cakes here on YouTube and has become an amazing designer. And I'm going to be doing her vintage wave sock pattern. This is a paid pattern that you can find in different platforms for Clarisabeth. I don't know if you can see, but it's got really pretty texture and stitches. I like it. And I am going to attempt to do that. I have 2 ideas of how I want to tackle these socks, 2. And one is I may use this Cascade Heritage, because this is a self-striping yarn and I think it's going to look really pretty. I really like the colors. Or I'm thinking that I may use a sock blank, and this is a sock blank that I purchased last year from Maria of Ninja Chickens. This is Maria from Ninja Chickens. This is her cute label. And she does a lot of natural dyeing, and so she dyed this really beautiful sock blank. It's not pretty. Oh, I just loved it when I saw it. It's not beautiful. That's really pretty. And this is actually 370 yards of 100% blue face luster, and it is dyed with eucalyptus and red bud and vitex. I don't know what vitex is, but here's the label if you want to take a look at what makes up this sock blank. But yes, so I'm thinking that I may work off the sock blank because I really like these colors. Isn't that pretty? That is just so beautiful. I don't even know how people do that. And I actually saw this, a sock blank by Maria on Chevy Rell's podcast. I love her podcast. She was talking about getting a sock blank, and I thought, oh, there's probably none left in the Etsy shop. But when I went to check the Etsy shop, she had like several left. So I purchased this one. And like I said, I'm not sure. I may do this one or this yarn for the socks. We shall see. Next, I had mentioned in my previous video that I wanted to do a pair of knitted socks, and I bought some yarn. I won a grand prize from the San Diego Yarn Crawl, which gave me some gift certificates to shop at different yarn shops in San Diego. So I used my gift certificate and purchased this yarn that I'm about to show you. But the pattern is, the pattern that I'm going to use for the knitted socks is part of a YouTube class that Denise DeSantis of Earth Tones Girl has put on YouTube. And it's the No Fear Shorty socks. So I'll be making these and following along with the written pattern with the YouTube tutorials. And so I purchased KFI collection sock yarn. Look how pretty that goes from the pink all the way to this dark gray. It came separated into two balls, which are these two balls right here, which I really liked. I like the fact that they're both in separate like little ball cakes, and that I should get a pair of matching socks, if not more than one, because they're shorties. But this is what it looks like. And so I also got my Tri-Goo needles. So these needles, this pattern, and this yarn will hopefully become knitted socks soon. And I want to keep with my crochet sock journey and see if I can start on Clarisabeth's pattern. The next pattern that I want to make, that I'm really interested in making, is the Jean Pullover by Liliana Bruce. It is a paid pattern. It looks like this. Is that pretty? It's made with worsted weight yarn, which I'm really liking that. Here's a picture. Isn't that beautiful? She's so pretty. If you don't know Liliana, she's actually the designer of the pullover that is on the cover of Moritz issue 1. So yeah, this is, I think it's, I mean, I would not wear it as a crop sweater, so I'll make it a little bit longer, but I think it's going to be a quick, I think because this is, you know, crocheted in worsted weight, I think this is going to make a really, really nice sweater. And I'm going to crochet it from yarn that I have in stash. I think that I have enough. I have to double check to make sure that I have enough yarn. So these two patterns, the socks and the pullover, are my project queue. I want to start one of those this week. Keep plugging away. I want to keep plugging away on the whips that I have. And I want to let you know that, speaking about Moritz, that I have the Moritz pre-sale listing in my Etsy shop, and that the pre-sale closes on February 25th. This is the cover of Moritz 2. Isn't that beautiful? I have seen the patterns in this magazine, and they are gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I have a little tasting of the patterns in the Etsy listing if you wanted to look at. I think I have 3 images of the patterns. Like I said, it's on pre-order right now, and I should have it. My goal is to have it in hand so that if you pre-order it, it will be to you by the on-sale date of March 29th. So that's Moritz issue 2. I also wanted to let you know that I'm going to be attending Stitches West with my good friend Zelda. We are going to be there Thursday through Sunday, I believe. And so if you see me walking around, and you want to say hi, come over and say hi. Let's take a picture. Let's chat. I'm really, really looking forward to going to a yarn show and getting out there to see all the beautiful things that are going to be available. So yes, so I have that to look forward to next month. I am still plugging away on my not so secret soon to be revealed project. Working hard on that behind the scenes. And then decluttering my house, which has been such a great project. I have a giveaway. I do. Give me 1 second. I gotta find the stuff for the giveaway. I don't usually do a lot of giveaways, but I'm doing a giveaway. So I'll be right back. Okay. I bought 2 project bags from Jen Hewitt. Jen Hewitt is the author of this incredible book, This Long Thread. And she is a textile artist. And so she often will have like little project bags and things in her shop. And she put a post up on Instagram that she was doing like a little sale. And I bought 2 of these bags, which are gorgeous. And so I have one of them along with the beautiful postcard that came with the purchase to give away to one of my viewers. So I don't really advertise giveaways on YouTube. So if you want to enter the giveaway, I would ask that you leave a comment that gives me some thoughts about how you feel about decluttering your stash, your craft supplies. Is that something that really turns you off? Is that something that you've been thinking about doing? Give me some thoughts about what you think about decluttering your craft stash. And I would love to have a discussion with you guys about that. So if you want to be entered on the giveaway, maybe put like a little yellow heart at the beginning of your comment, and I will look for those little yellow hearts and I will enter you in the giveaway. So I will probably put some yarn in here from the stash. And so yeah, there you go, a giveaway. But she didn't think you were going to get that with this episode. So leave me a comment down below. Put a little yellow heart at the beginning so I'll know to look for that. I will choose a winner, and then on the next episode, I will announce the winner. And so with that, I say goodbye, and I hope to see you soon. I hope that you are having a wonderful time with your crafting, because that's what it's about. And that this year is treating you well. And if it's not, I hope it gets better for you. And yeah, craft with joy. And I will see you next time. Bye.